My name is Nick Pollard. I'm with the Jefferson City Fire Department, and today we're going to be talking about identifying different types of knots in the fire service. Very common knots, stuff we use every day. So first thing to really start talking about is the different parts of the rope, so you can easily identify what parts you need whenever you're actually making knots or building a system during a rescue or during a training exercise. The first part is going to be the running part. That is going to be the end that you will be using to pull, haul, whatever that you're going to be doing outside of the system. The standing part is going to be your middle part. That is going to be in between your running part and your working end, to where that's going to be used up in the system. It's going to be run through, could be any length. There's no set length to that. The working end, one of the most important parts, is going to be the part used to actually tie the knot, tie the hitch, whatever you're going to be securing to, that is going to be your working end. So this is just some common terminology that we're going to use throughout, so everyone around us knows exactly what we're doing, where we're at, and what part of the system that you need to be a part of. If someone tells you to go, to the working end, you're going to know you need to go down to the end of the knot, wherever your load securement is. They tell you need to be at the running part, chances are you're going to be using it to haul or lower or something of that nature. Basics of tying a knot. You're going to want to first start by forming the knot. Whatever knot you choose to use, there's hundreds of different knots that can be used. Most common ones are going to be your figure 8, your clove hitch, water knot. The figure 8 family has many different knots that you can use throughout, depending on your situation. So first you're going to want to form the knot, and then you're going to want to make sure it's tightened, it's snug. We don't want any slack inside of the knot that could cause issues, cause it to loosen up, cause it to fail, or cause it to come undone while it's being loaded into a system. So you're going to want to make sure that it's tight before you load it. Next is you're going to want to remove any slack from the knot. You want to dress it up. You don't want any of the ends of the ropes running over top of another or getting twisted up inside the knot. That will greatly reduce the load factor for your knots, and it could potentially damage your rope. One thing that you want to do after your knot is tied, secured, and tight, you want to make sure you tie an overhand safety into the knot, and all that's gonna do is you're gonna go over top, make a loop, and then come back through it. What that safety does is gets in behind the knot, and it just makes sure that if anything, nothing can come loose. The knot cannot come undone during rescue activities. Some knots require it, some knots don't, and that is going to be up to your local AHJ authority having jurisdiction on whether or not you use overhand safeties within your systems. Suitable knots, they must be easy to untie. With the figure 8 family, that's one great benefit to them. No matter how much load you put on the knots, they always come untied very easily. You can just run them back and forth, and they'll come untied. Some knots, if you just tie a slip knot, for instance, if you put a load on it, you're going to have to cut that rope. It's not going to come untied. So you want them to be tight. You want them to be easy to untie. You want them to be secured under a load. You don't want anything slipping out. You don't want that load to become unstable as you're conducting operations. Different knots have different load ratings. And depending on how you tie that could affect the strength. So we'll get into some more research later on how to properly tie a knot, which knots have different load strengths, different test weights, so you can use the appropriate knot for the appropriate load. Couple key things when you're tying a knot, some different terminology to be used. First you have the bite, which all the bite is just a loop. That is what's going to be used as an attachment point for your anchors, for your attached to a harness system. And then you're going to have your loops, which it just crosses over. A bite is just straight up and down is all it is. A loop will cross over itself and form a simple loop. And then a round turn is going to be what your clove hitch is. It's going to go around it twice. It's going to go around it twice. And it's going to encapsulate it, capture it. Different types of knots. We have a clove hitch, number one. A clove hitch can be is a hitch. It's not a knot, it's a hitch. It is used to secure mainly a halyard to a ladder, to tie up tools, tie up the end of a rope. It is a friction hitch, which means the tighter you pull on it, the stronger it grabs. The way to tie a clove hitch is to bring it around an object. You go around, form a loop, and then you're going to cross, come back over, and then you're going to have an X at your top. And then you want to bring your working end through underneath and snug it down. When it's complete, you should have two pieces of rope running around and then a piece going over the top to capture it. Now, as tight as you pull that, it's going to bite harder and harder and it's not going to slip. To complete it, you're going to bring the working end around and then you're going to tie in an overhand safety. And that will secure that hitch. The figure eight family has a bunch of different uses, a bunch of different knots. A simple figure eight, all you do is create a loop, cross it over, and bring it back through the top. Take your working end back through the top. It's a simple figure eight, has many different uses. For the most part, they're used to secure rope inside of bags or to have a grab point so you know the end of the rope. A figure eight bend is for you joining two pieces of rope together. So you take one piece of rope, you form a figure eight on one end, just a simple figure eight, and then you take the other end and you follow it back through and you feed it through, and it will join two pieces of rope together. They have to be two pieces of the same diameter rope. Figure eight on a bite is for attaching harnesses, for attaching anchor points, secure loads. It is used as an attachment point. To do a figure eight bite on a bite, take a loop of rope, run side by side, down, or around, all the way around, and back through the top. That will be a figure eight on a bite. And then for AHJ, tie an overhand safety if necessary. The bite you want as small as possible on the rope. That creates less wear on the rope, and it makes getting access a little bit easier and making untying it a little bit easier. A figure eight follow through is the same thing. You start out with a basic figure eight. And then this will be used for going around an object, say a tree or something that we can't get the rope of something over top of it. So you figure eight, basic figure eight, go around the object and then follow it back through and to finish it, and you follow it back through the same way, and it finishes out your figure eight, and that goes around an object. Water knots used for tying webbing together. A water knot can be used for many different things. For webbing, it can be used for tying up harnesses, rescue harnesses, tying webbing together to make it longer, just a number of different things. You're going to start out by taking an end into your webbing, coming around and tying an overhand knot, trying to keep it as flat and keep it as loose as possible and leave a tail. Run your other end of your webbing through, follow it back through the opposite direction and keeping it flat, pulling enough tail. And finishing it off. That's a basic water knot. So there's different, there's different uses for all these knots. And there's way more knots out there than what we covered today. You play with it, use whatever your district uses, whatever your department uses, train on it. So this is a perishable skill. The more you do this, the better off you are. You use it or you lose it. So I want to say thank you, and as of right now, we're going to stop. We're going to take a test over the information that we covered. If there's any questions, we'll have it at the end. Thank you very much.